Welcome, everyone, to A Mexican and a Redneck Follow the World. We are your hosts and surrogate fathers, Juan and Ben. Today, we'll be discussing how to take a girl on a date.
You just take her.
Yeah,
Problem solved.
that's it.
It's over.
That's it. All right,
5
guys.
seconds in.
Well, thank you all for listening
Love
to me.
No. This is one of those things where it's like, what do you mean? I just pick her up. Just take her on a date.
Well, I will say this, Ben. I don't know if you realize this, but we're old farts when it comes to dating.
We are. This is old school. Just telling
Which
y'all
is-
the way it is. It's not going to be a.
Which is kind of crazy to think about.
I know. We don't know how to date.
Well, I feel like when you and I were both in high school, you still had to call them and
Mhm.
talk to them.
You
and be
did.
Or you had to see them at, the dating experience was like, you seen them at school, you got to build up the courage to be like, go up to her and be like, hey, do you want to go out on a date? There wasn't this texting.
No, not really.
I think we're like the last generation to where we couldn't just text somebody and be like, hey, I really like you. Do you want to go out with me? And then have that separation of not, if she rejects you, well, like, you're at least not standing in front of her. You're separated by a phone or technology or whatever. It's like you just get ghosted.
We'd write notes.
Yeah.
You want to go on a date with me
Yeah.
and hand it to her in school or
Yeah,
something?
man, dude, we are old.
I wonder if people still pass notes.
I don't know. Do kids still do that?
I don't know.
We need to talk to some kids. Hey, kid, I got some candy. You want to talk to me?
Do you still pass notes in school?
What do the kids do down there? Yeah, that's weird.
Don't do that.
Anyways, topic: how to go on a date.
So, I had a friend. He's the same age as us. I worked with him, and him and his wife were having some trouble, and they split up. And he wanted to start dating again. And he's like, I'm getting back out on the scene. I'm free. I've been married for, I think he'd been married like 10 years at the time. And he's like, I'm getting back out on the scene. I'm just going to explore and see what's out there. And so he would go to restaurants, coffee shops, department stores, wherever. And he'd start going up to these girls and talking to them and asking them out. And they would just wholeheartedly reject him. And he couldn't figure out why he didn't have game anymore. And he was talking to this girl, and she was interested in him. He could tell, but she didn't want to talk to him. He said, why are you not interested? She's like, we do dating apps now. And he was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Like, he had to overcome that curve.
yeah,
Because when he was dating, you just went and talked to a girl.
yeah.
And she expected you to talk to her. That was a good thing. And you're like, hey, I'm interested in you. Could I get your number? Now that's a creeper thing to do.
Man, I think that's and it kind of makes me sad because I feel like that's part of becoming a man journey right there.
Oh, it is the rejection
Yeah, overcoming the rejection.
or acceptance.
Yeah, but building up the courage to ask that girl out
Oh yeah.
and just be like, I'm gonna go out. Like, man, I remember when I was 18, and I asked it was my front door neighbor. I asked her out. She was one of 8, 7 brothers, 1 girl.
Oh no.
Okay, so I come from a big family too. I'm six of us, 5 boys, 1 girl.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of knew what was gonna happen because like when somebody came and asked my sister out on a date, like we know what we were gonna do, and like I knew the family knew me. Obviously they were like we're neighbors, but even still building up the courage to walk across the street, knock on the door, and be like, hey, you want to go out with me? Take you out to the movies. And I remember that day, that feeling, and then. Because even still at this point, I had asked permission from the mom and dad. Be like, hey, is it okay if I take your daughter out on a date? And the dad was like looking at me, observing me, kind of like giving me the like look up, and was like, yeah, which of my sons are you gonna take with you as well? And I was like, oh, I'll take the little ones.
Yeah.
It was terrifying, but at the same time, I was like, it was honoring to the family. Like, oh yeah, you did it right. But now it's like I don't know if people actually do that.
I don't know. So I'm looking at this as, okay, I'm talking to my son. Son, how do you set yourself apart in this day and age?
Yeah.
Because my boy's 5 right now. And I honestly don't think people should date unless they're ready to get married. Like, I truly believe that. I know that's very old school, but you can still hang out with the girl in a group of friends and get to know her.
Okay.
Because I did that a lot. Because I had friends in high school, they were constantly taking girls on dates, picking them up, driving them around. They were broke. They were miserable half the time.
So then people should just keep on doing like kind of like what they're doing, just hanging out, having casual sex,
No,
and then just but not actually date.
no. You also don't hook up either. No, no physical
No
contact.
physical. Then how do I get my wiggles out if I'm a young man?
There are methods. You don't need to go down that route though. That's the thing. Like, you need to learn who you are inside before you start inviting someone else into your little world, right?
Yeah.
People misconstrue lust for love. It's a very common thing. Like, oh, we're in love. It's like, nah, you're in lust.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you this. Actually, I don't hate to tell people that. But I'm sorry no one has told you this now, but you're misconstruing her beauty for who she really is.
Yeah.
And that wanting of who she is on the inside, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all that stuff that makes her who she really is. You can't just want the shell and not want the real spirit. And that's kind of what I'm getting at is spend time with her. So in high school, I really don't encourage anyone to date. Don't do it. Hang out, get to know people, learn about humanity, but don't put yourself through the hardships that come with the physical relationship.
Yeah.
And I know that's counterintuitive, but you got to think about it. Counterintuitive things are what make you better. So if you want to be sharper, to be better, you don't and do good on a test, for example, you don't stay up all night studying. You get a good night's rest because you're going to be able to work through those problems and figure it out. And you study beforehand. If you want to be stronger physically, you have to work out. Well, what does working out do? It breaks down those muscles, but when they come back and regenerate, they're bigger and better. And I don't agree with this hookup mentality. I don't think it's good.
It's lazy, and it's not really developing men. It's developing cowardly men. And unfortunately, that's one of the symptoms of our society that causes a lot of problems is when you have cowardly men, when you have weak men produce weak societies.
Yeah.
But man, you made a statement as far as like setting yourself apart. And man, in this time and age, if you're a young man and you're like, there's a girl that you like, if you set yourself apart, if you're the guy that's like, no, I'm gonna live by standards. I'm gonna I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm gonna ask you out on a date, but then I'm gonna go talk to your mom and dad and ask them for permission. You set that higher standard,
Oh yeah.
from yourself. It's gonna set you apart. It's gonna set you that when you take that girl out on a date, it's like, wow, you really want to be with me. And then it's like, yeah, I really want to be with you. But then too, there's that honoring aspect of like, I want to be with you, but I also want to respect you.
Oh yeah.
I want I see you. I see the value in you. You're just not a trophy that I'm trying to attain and then move on. Because that's one thing that I saw a lot in high school. When I was in California and then when I moved to Tennessee, it was the same thing. But it's like I remember the school that I went to was very kind of, what do you call it? Not inner city, but it was very urban or.
Urban's a word.
I don't know how to describe it, but anyways,
One of those high society, places.
It was the type of school where like freshman year the girls would be nice and innocent, sophomore year the girls would be pregnant. Oh. So there was a lot of high school pregnancies. When your high school has a daycare center next to it,
hey, ours did too.
There's something wrong.
Our high school had daycare.
Did it? Okay, I thought I was the only one.
No, it was a small town high school too.
Yeah, and so
I was like, we have daycare. They're like, yeah, we offer. I was like, well, I guess that's good for some people.
Yeah, and
it helps some people finish high school.
It's like I still remember like my innocence at 14, like when I found like, oh, they have daycare. Oh, that's so cool that they provide that for the teachers. It's like, oh no, that's for the students. Students. Why do you? Oh, and then like I remember seeing like the sophomore girls like with their little bellies pregnant, and I was like, wow, that's and I'm like, man, but nowadays, because I still remember that process for me of asking a girl on a date. It was a long process because like I had to build up that courage.
Sure.
I didn't have that safety net of like, oh, I'm just going to send her a text. And if she rejects me, then, like, oh, it'll be fine. At least I don't have to deal with it, But it's like, oh, man, one of the worst experiences that I had. What was it? Was it sophomore year or junior year? I think it was junior year. It was my junior year in high school. There was this girl that I really liked in high school, and then I would hang out with her, talk to her, and stuff like that. And then I think it was the homecoming dance that was coming up, and I had built up the courage. I was like, man, I'm gonna ask her out. So I asked her out that morning. I think it was like second period or something like that. Like, hey, do you want to go to the homecoming dance with me? And she was like, oh no, I'm busy, and I just can't. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I was like, oh, okay, good. I felt so proud because I was like, I did it. It's like
Oh, yeah.
I did it. Okay, and I got the rejection. I was like, all right, but at least I did it. And then I'm sitting with her at lunch, and then her other two friends were sitting with us, and we're just kind of we're having lunch together. And then one of my friends comes over. He sits down with us, and then he asks her out and says, hey, do you want to go to the dance with me? And I'm thinking like, oh yeah, she's busy. She's gonna say no. And she was like, no, kind of like squirmy and stuff like that. And then her other two friends are like, yeah, say yeah, and I was like, and it hit me. I was like, oh, she didn't want to go out with me. And then she says yes. And I'm sitting there. And here's the worst part, Ben. Like, we were sitting in a booth. I was sitting on the inside. She's sitting next to me. And I had just asked her out earlier that morning. And then at that point, I was just like, Earth, eat me now. So I don't know if that's that. I think that needs, but going through that dating experience definitely made me stronger.
I would hope so.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. That's
So I think I was going to go a completely different direction with this, but I really like your story.
That was rough.
She just wasn't for you.
No, she was not, clearly.
So I mean, we got through the high school phase, right? So when do you think the next part would be like, well, when do I start dating?
Yeah.
And a lot of the old timers will tell me, figure people out,
mm-hmm.
get a career path at least in mind,
mm-hmm.
and working towards that. I honestly believe you should get out of high school, 18, get into college, and once you're kind of figuring out where you want to go with your career, so you'll have money to take care of this relationship, then you take it to the next level and say, okay, now I want to start dating. And I know people are like, well, but you're supposed to get wild and crazy. It's like, why would you? People almost use physical intimacy as an escape.
Yeah.
And it's well, this is it's just a release. It's just a stress reliever.
Mm-hmm.
But why? Why are you using such a beautiful thing as a tool? And a good date, I went on a lot of, I knew my wife's mom and her dad, her brother and sister before I met her. I actually met her last.
Oh, really?
So I knew her whole family. And I was actually friends with her mom for a month before I ever actually dated her
mm-hmm.
or met her. Actually, I was friends with her for a few months before I dated her. But we started, her and I would go out to social events. We would hang out, and go hear music or go to a party with friends or whatever. But there's a lot of just spending time together. And I would even go eat dinner with her family. And we would have these, basically, I'm in my early 20s and I'm on a date with her mom, her dad, her brother, and her and me. And we're all sitting there eating dinner together.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that. There was this thing where I had to be at my best. There's a thing where I could see her family and see exactly where she came from. Because a lot of people look at this as a restrictive thing, this whole kind of courting approach. Yeah. But I look at it as, no, you're not just getting the girl who can be whoever she wants to be. You're seeing her family. You're seeing where she came from.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing her habitat that grew her. And now it's like, oh, if I like your mom and dad, I'm probably going to get along pretty well with you. You know, and it's not always the case. I know everybody's different, but I looked at it as I can see why you're having these problems or these successes, and it gives you a very clear picture. And I would do the traditional stuff too, though. You know, open the car door for her and then let her get in. She'll feel special.
Yeah.
Open a door when you go into a restaurant. Take her somewhere nice. If you can't afford to, do a picnic. Girls love picnics. Just find a public park, take her on a picnic, go for a hike or a walk.
Put value into the date is basically what you're saying.
Right. It's not just I took you to a movie.
Yeah.
Why can't we hook up? You know, it's
I think
what woman wants to feel that way?
What I hear you saying is like, you know, proper dating, it kind of goes back to that podcast that we talked about, controlling your appetites.
Yeah. Like, value this woman.
Mm-hmm.
Make her feel special. And then on the other end, women, look nice. Be polite. You know, try to really understand him. And
yeah, dress nice, but don't advertise too much if you're not looking to sell.
Advertise.
Yeah.
Don't
if you're not selling, don't advertise.
But put all of that stuff off and actually value the human you're talking to.
Yeah.
Because that's going to set you apart, you know. And I used to I used to take girls, and like I wish I would have heard this information and been told by someone I admire when I was a teenager or a young adult, because I started dating more, I guess, in college, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I've only seen the 5th Harry Potter movie because the girl I wanted to date wanted to go see Harry Potter. I'm like,
is there a 5th Harry Potter?
I think there's like 7 or something.
I don't know.
I don't even know. I don't know what was going on. I was trying I was trying to talk to her too, but she had been waiting for this movie.
I remember one time
I was
hanging out with my buddies and we were drinking, and which I don't advocate drinking, but it happened. I was drinking, and then we had to do a beer run at the store, and we went to the Kroger's, and they had this big book stack. The Harry Potter books. I don't know which book it was, but I was like, oh my gosh, it's Harry Potter. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to read it to you guys while we drink. So I bought it. And my friends were like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's a great book. It's a great story. Here, I'll get the beers. I'll get the book. We'll go back and we'll read it to you. It's great. It did not go well. I didn't read the book.
I've never read the books, and I honestly couldn't tell you what happened in the movie. So there's that.
That's my Harry Potter story.
That's your Harry. That was also my only Harry Potter connection. Was I took a girl on a date. We did not stay together. It did not work out. But put value in that date. Put some thought into it, and that'll set you apart from the other guy.
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy who's just like, oh, I found you on this, you know, dating app.
I
thing.
swipe right for you.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a thing. I heard that somewhere.
Okay. I don't either. But take that, you know, go meet her parents if she still lives at home.
If you're a man,
if you're a man, go say, hey, sir, I'm taking your daughter out. And like say I'll have her home by 11 and then actually have her home by 11.
Yeah. He'll
respect that, because then you'll set yourself apart to him.
Yeah.
And the wife, if they're still married and stuff, it's like, oh, wow, this guy's building some trust. He wants this to work, and it'll show you're different, and it'll show her that she's different to you. I mean, it's a win-win.
Yeah, man. There's something comforting about that when the dad knows that like my daughter's gonna be safe.
At least he's coming up to speak to me, and he can be somewhat respectable. That means there's going to be less guns pointed at you when you get home.
Yeah,
maybe not get rid of all the guns that are pointed at you, but maybe he won't have the shovel ready to bury you. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get.
Yeah, well, that's maybe a subject for next podcast. So I think that's maybe we need to just wrap it at that.
Wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for listening to A Mexican and a Redneck Father of the World. We love you and we're proud of you.